and how do you manage drought when you have different reservoirs in the basin and many different stakeholders that have uses for that water, whether it be in the reservoir or direct flow within the system. The Navajo Nation on January 3rd did receive the framework plan. This was an opportunity given to the Upper Basin tribes. So not only the Navajo Nation, Southern Ute Mountain, Ute, Hickory, and to be able to have, as well as the Ute tribe, to be able to review this document. And it'll also be shared publicly, I believe, later in this month as well. And there's opportunity for us to comment on the Drought Response Operations Plan. So I mentioned previously when I talked about emergency releases, there's a need to describe Navajo Nation's concerns with the management practices of addressing drought in the Colorado River Basin. And so this is our opportunity to be able to provide what our concerns are. And the main opportunity, I think, is for the Navajo Nation and other tribes to be included in the process. With the emergency releases, when that proposal of 181,000 acre feet had been planned, the Navajo Nation and other tribes were not given sufficient time. I believe it was only a day or two notice before that plan came out. And so what we've been advocating for is an opportunity to know about things a lot sooner, especially when it impacts the water availability, when we have large projects online, not only like at NAPI, but also with the development of the Navajo Gallup water supply project. And lastly, the sixth topic to be able to provide an update on is the drought situation has basically put all hands on deck for federal and state parties and trying to address the issues that have come up associated with drought. And what has taken a backseat has been the renegotiation of the interim guidelines. Previously, before the drought conditions were as bad as they are currently, that was what was the priority for the Bureau of Reclamation. They did conduct a review of the interim guidelines, and that was completed by 2020 of December. And the thought was that process would continue. However, what's been communicated to us is that as the severe drought conditions continue to persist, that will be the topic of interest. And so just with regards to the drought operations plan, the thought is to be able to have that signed by the Secretary of Interior by late spring. And so it's on a pretty fast track for review, public comment, and then approval and signature by the Secretary of Interior, Secretary Holland. But that's all I wanted to provide an update for, and I will conclude now and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Tully Cordova. Certainly appreciate your presentation. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second. Motion.
Daniel, motion.
Honorable
Chair,
Daniels, thank you.
Chairman, I second.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, do you have any questions or comments? None. None. Thank you for your report, Dr. Tully Cordova. Appreciate it. We'll go ahead and accept the report. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I will agree.
Thank you. Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart? Honorable Begay? We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you. Back to our reports. We're on B, report from Tallgrass Energy and Navajo Land Department on the hydrogen pipeline project. Presenters will be Clara Pratt, Chief Executive Officer for Strongbow Strategies, and Mike Halona from Navajo Land Department. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe we had sent out the presentation previously via PowerPoint. Hopefully you have that. Otherwise, I'm also able to share my screen.
Okay, Mr. Tahi, when did you send it out? I see.
Additionally, I just wanted.
You may proceed.
I'll also share my screen. Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here presenting before the Honorable Committee. As stated, we'll be presenting on a hydrogen pipeline project. Additionally, we've had discussions with the Land Department. Mr. Lone is here today. Also on the line, we have Mr. Damon Daniels, the Chief Commercial Officer from Tallgrass, Mr. Adam Schicky, General Counsel from Tallgrass, and Ms. Crystal Heater, who's the Chief Operating Officer from Tallgrass. With your permission, sir, I would like to provide an opportunity for Mr. Damon Daniels to walk through the slide deck, if it's okay with you.
Ms. Pratt, could you identify that person again?
Yes, sir. It would be Mr. Damon Daniels, the Chief Commercial Officer for Tallgrass Energy.
Dave, did you say David Daniels? Could you slow down?
Damon? Yes, sir. Sorry. Damon Daniels, D-A-M-O-N. Daniels.
Okay. Daniels. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Clara. Clara, just to
James.
clarify, can you hear me okay, Clara? And everyone?
We can hear you.
Chairman Nez and the
Yes, sir.
RDC committee, thank you so much. Clara, would we be requesting to go into executive session first, or what would be the process for?
Sir, there's no request for an executive
Correct,
session.
Chairman. Correct, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, some of the items will be business proprietary, so perhaps we could just go through the slide deck without covering the financial pieces, if that would be acceptable.
Clara, maybe we've run into a bit of a coordinating item, but were we going to present the materials in executive session given the sensitivity of the project in its totality, or how would that work? And I'm sorry, Chairman Nez and the RDC for asking during the call, but I had thought, given the sensitivity of commercially of the materials, we would handle the presentation in executive session if that were something that the RDC would be willing to transition to.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Correct.
For your
That was
concern.
the request, Mr. Daniels.
Mr. Daniels, the PowerPoint that is sent to us, and normally when a report is requested to leadership, within that request is also an executive session request. Perhaps the presentation can be done without any confidential or sensitive information being disclosed.
Thank you, Chairman Nez. I think the concern is the project itself and in its scope as we would present it at this stage continues to be confidential, and so that would be the concern, Mr. Chairman. I do apologize for the confusion. Certainly don't want to be taking up the RDC's time with procedural matters, but I think that would be the concern, sir. So, Clara, I don't know what that means procedurally or more appropriately, Chairman Nez and the RDC. But perhaps we should take the time to organize that more appropriately and then come back to the RDC, because we certainly don't want to be consuming this valuable time with that procedural item.
Ms. Pratt, as well as Mr. Daniels, we could reschedule this, and perhaps you could also modify your PowerPoint presentation to where it fits just the leadership. And I would not, I don't see what the confidential information is, Clara, for this. Could you kind of expound on that?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. The confidential information is some of the maps as well as the financial information and the timeline. So those pieces discussing the project overall would be business proprietary at this point.
Okay. Clara, would you be willing to reschedule this?
Yes, sir. If it pleases the committee, we can reschedule and request again the executive session and make sure to work with Mr. Tahi to ensure that happens as well.
Okay, thank you. We'll
Thank you.
just have this rescheduled. Mr. Tahi, if we could have this rescheduled, we'll just skip over it right now and go to C on the agenda. We have update report from Eastern Agency Land Board to Resource and Development Committee on their continued work. The presenter will be Mr. Anthony Begay, the Land Board District 16 chairperson. Mr. Begay, you have 20 minutes, sir.
Back a hotel do transpas ando you say but had the shah de you sit the I could back a hotel the R80 Quaggy District 16 you'll get Ajabana Sata Kana Lakha Akoy I last ego and I see Taniki Kodao. He could have a kick at the Oge Yahi Island. Ako a Yahi a large gay I don't hit the bed, don't hit the bed, the husband gay I had all reported the Eastern Agency District Land Board. Na Q na I ani for the Nasi Tani Government Adani Green Auto Hazogi. Each Navajo Land Board members are at the Jibaka, District 15, District 16, District 19, or District 20. Ako ani ego se bitata. Adana si na kire and has a large ya handley na easy down. In has twigo hita and bitza ajita. Mr. Carlos Arvito, Ajbebanant and Lina Ayan, the Canadilia. Aros now Q&A, I besented on Lake Valley, Aja, so Aja has on the Nada, Nico Shania, Vision nada is no aja bahan na kwa aja edo aja na din deeply. Ako aja joint hada sa tanige ya Mr. Herbert Enrico in hala sa ta aja. Ako din hinanish deni zinige aja hinanish. Nishi das la ash kitan leda ba yada at kito do hojo ba hin ingi to ba na shina tahagi. Ya ti lago beta date in the lay Kane Chisinage Yahi Eastern Navajo Agency Grazing and Livestock Enforcement Collaborative Meeting. Edel Bin Yage Yahidi Quaggy Navajo Nation Rangers, do Police Department, do Raymond, Bureau of Indian Affairs that Jodi Quaggy a youth sana hatler. Chaos Hahin Gibahan Agabana. Quaggy di Hajo Shadahadi, they thought I had a deed, so don't hit Aghin on the stay neat her. خليت أشلت من دادين الجديد النبا خليت أدي دون ناسل تشلوهت أروسا هلو دي الكين كها جواب دادين الش دادي نيرا الكيك خي اللي ناجوش بغندا الكيك خدون جنوبو أشاد جديد أكو دي كواجي جيا يسين شيادات نوع لا يا بحسي Crown Point Police Department داغي Nanige Yadi Kia Sandaz Ligi do Gispada House no din Hilshanda Shagi I think his yard no oko. Traditionally King Passage King Cottage Hekagi do di Basa Hondo and Lay the Gashido Karna Vanilla yet Casada. I could that Enego I in the house to open 80 hot hours George Ki Kado 80 agent Lajana so Tanigi. Fishpans under the limit on his slado. I had an Arasan Hano yard and the uncle Diaco. Ishinan is colonel, so Ajago, that any they don't have joined the standard Niki and Yapat Ak, Balta Seeking. A cook. Dear Nabi Kidago, Yahe, Namal Kitio, Nage, Yahe. If you Navajo District Land Board Agriculture Infrastructure Funds update, Yoli. Ada, you sense that this Bebenant Adani Clinic Shah. Nanigi are you no cohogo nahalo di quaggy bella as leo and I am cohodo nido. Are you not in the sea in the house now yard eight or less in the G bears aniga are you adobel yard and the what anna the sheep which it on horse ard and de double off art Division of Community Development or Division of Natural Resource. I would end in the Bevenant Adam Clinic are you hayosna. خد آلبان صدق كيستو خليت أرجع ياد إتوليش نشيشة يا هي خد أرو بان صدق كيسين تشندا توشنا ننجي باخدنا بنا إيدي كده خد نيسس كانوا إيدي ينلي تبغى هتزند أشخاصي كلين ينند أرو هجو يجو أهوز نند جد أخباشنا أتليتو أتوجو شنا الداتا دي ناشنيه بنا نو بنا Ayu added on nanis and I handle the kiddy quaggy. Bash na skin eddy quabby lada as Lina Hodot need. A co ebit ida the shigi ya hedi kodo. Niki aro, Bishmas Annabella Soshna, Ayudo, Aro Yeda Ila, Johala, the Dohno Ayahe Aja, asked what never caught or was the Lin Holonigi Hodot need. A co Nich Ado de Quadana, Sosin Fitah, not the Lee. كده ما ده بيجي نحن أيه خاص خداس تدلش نحن أكو أيو كواجي يجي نحن لقول أبيش أنا جيت أو هجوب إن ديل نشوا دي ببنا الصوص ده يصوصي أيو الله جندو مش عارو دي بكيرجي أجي عاد أتكو بيج عاد أولجي نبلني دخلنا نجي دو نيد نشوف بعد سيد زي اللي نزبس أنجه عارنا شيء أبين دالش ببنا عاد نلنجي جو أجي أشلحت أبش نزهز ko di quaggy about association and ado archedash ni quash in deal nishigi jod ashkene kato dash in dail in hoyat ko ya edit aro sisla nadol tata do di kana la khato no which na holjish ato wasa ko nedo ayu kida deskai de shaya yesi da ni lido gida in da dash kido ko edi gadishon kunzago ito ko di quaggy Jogi بالنيادش أصلاً أجي يهدي يسأل كذا بيات كيوتو هالجيش cooperative agreement meeting AAD Memorandum of Understanding. Lada ba no a tri-party agreement ba do nin de Ada what Edison da AKA ba ya ki ajugo land exchange dish nimigi. Ako di cooperative agreement ya hai di ba khatna nis khari do mal closhi da any ba yani do da choji ba source da halon ge aje ay so bani nel. Ako ba source AAD kha aje dalia Allah ji ge ya hai Bureau of Land Management a state director ge aje la shi Aaron Acune and Hinkin and President Navajo Nation gi ARG AJ Nai Aro D Khan a Bureau of Indian Affairs a Regional Director gi ABJ de even Yanal source gi a head Ashkatat Nit Adi College I had the Baba Cardinal Cardi he Sabas Ladalish Kudat Hanela the best Hanela Bakershin or Lish Gido Aro Queenie Hillenigi Ar di Kea Quados Cassin, Ligi Hela, you seek it is either Hela Bandol, yes. Ko Arodi Bays, Ani Eshedi Bindil, Mr. Lake. Ko Arodi Kea, Hudat, any 80 crag, a shade at all, Yankee, Hadat, actually the art of the Bakal. Ko 2003, Ada, Kating him and the late President Kelsey became high sign ye la. He under the day named also. R80 o Basana Ade Yai Asho Haditza. R in and Hindasik, as Hashin Sogonal, so Spebanant Adam, the Penido Bain DJ, and Nido Base King, Kago Enda Dish sauce. A co A Yahe Nasna Dish, as A Aja Latit I Satanigi, the Hatter Satani Division Natural Resource, Robert Allen, A Ajaban, and also she on this A. Hinant Ida Nadish sauce on Ha, Hindi. Honorable Delegate Mark Freeland, Ajidon, lecture, Ala Crowd, Katadala, Ash Kahin Madish Ki. Ako Yahed or Sondasik, as Sadid Aya, a code Obecht and a Gondelia, Johala Yahid or Hashi, Deed, Edit, no, the Nagay Yahid or Hajobi Hadol, Shibin Yedi, the Deed Nido, Hajon Hamas, Bide, no heat election and Aja Ashwade. Ko anzadet in the AI axel on needed and needs an AD cooperative agreement or ye. Ako AI Bureau of Land Management, I dish kidigit aya, Dilahit Bebenant Abenamish Basel Ladolish, Dilahit AI Nal Nistolish. Ili asked a sort of nasty day for job it got so. Johala no AI Bebenant, I Aja. Dishi on Dallas, ye Ajba Basel Ladolish, ABA, Haliadolish. The Hudat, any go Sahalon that, any gay Ajabahandol, yes, Kudot Nido, even Nadi, Jo, Nido, Ado Kudo, Ado Hinand Adam Linigan, the Shashine Kato got it Adam Linigay 80 Quaggy, Title 3, Hajonani, off reservation grazing code, subchapter 7, Nigi, David Ska on doors, needs to a out. A call AD that A, Ado Washington, Beginning Lake Canal, Kadebeloda is Lingi. A 25 CFR 166 Siege. A Abexkedaft. Echo A job is Bahazan on Washington, the Danishido and Hidden Nado, Government Adam, Plinigi, ko AD Harafan, A Basel laughed at Neil. But Scan hit also yet etolition and die. A co A that AAD Tratas, the Gonzab on the city, a large in the air. AD Hajo, a skating Nikay. The Anchin Washington Bureau of Indian Affairs or Adi Crampo agencies or agencies Ado the Hut Edolish at Nimigido, Hut Ayat Kigi. Could Aban today case no, you had a hasi or other or co Angenoda Ilia. A co Asho didn't give the Highland Afshan Fano Yard and the Yaheshan based on the when is away Ajadi Kragan and Shden also. Abetkaho Agi job another hadil that he made a addition for Zish. Out of his town, a gay Hadik at Adenana, the Ligi February Vigit. In here, each agency land board orientation, Nigi. The Aja Ashki Hishnilabanasha, a quadro Rojo Havazoid, Governor Adam, Klinigi. A Yahe, the Hanana, Zidinast, Adon is Nago Yosh Castle. Ainly fire rap Holier, added Josh Bogatas under added Hanadot Afro, na Kijija added Hinedika. Alodia, you say, Chidadish Anido, Banahad not Islamit, Nigidi, AAT Quagitani Khan. Ako lajige yahi an the Division of Natural Resources aja anige aja also the Department of Agriculture in Gino la Rema Castillo and lay the Green Committee meeting at Shahazina Kim Shana de Ada in Gino yana has not tally count that and again live it later. A quaggy violation about the bandit either and they do halad or zone with I Nihoshi hot aba yadil tio di had a deal isilla hilla basalado leisha ninigi in Gino yana has ada ko abada deal so ado that Hashil Sobran should have used it and he should not have done it. The Dikodo Yusubana and so a two water resource to them, a late Adi Kodon Hikaili. Dina of Bastade Hoda, what did you do and Ahodat? Hashine La base at the music date, only deep in the high agriculture infrastructure fund your lay. A quote or hard or base at date, another Yahina Kidiban date out at on the church eat a la basil. Ilahit Odanas kid. Ako ila bahundla adige hajob ka narid o kish aro inle na kohota Pablo Laguna ara deni kid so bin yage ya henjon lake ojo ha kujo ha hozoge aje isto se ka don le to haji le that aje ke abashatin ko dil in nebil nit na shanna da ja don hitsa de ara yand halna ardo band hanni Cordilla hit hot Achaleda is in the Disnish. Eben ID Washington, the any kid, Southwest region, though, and the Crampon agency. Halate Adi Hot Zog, even the Dilish and Iraze, Dinea Halate, the Washba Hayada. And that's cause the yard, that and unheated. He leans at the lawn than the yard. That any ad a job by other deeds, Kiton Hill the Dorley, Ada Dominant, and Lenny, Mr. Robert Mexicano, Ada Miss Evangeline Willie. For this story, Yahe, that any so Ebna Kavikea so Ajabata the because she said no Nadacha or that she the because of Karna Ragi hit so is here you Sabasula. That any the 83 that age or a New Mexico Livestock Board. Aja Basala, Adela Shea, you say Aja Beholding. Aja Yakadagage, Byron Murphy, or the livestock inspector, of course. That any other zone, he's in the Hadol, little Hajoba the Hadolzi. Ada the Ahonanet and Liquido. Na easy, you don't let her for no a bureau of line management. Are you and the Basa Hanodi? Koda Katajin, the East Orligi. Abeling Hobart Kadatiliedo and the Geso are the Sundodi cry. That any treat and that shade, they are just as Lige Ajajoba. Another detail, so a Aja Bishon the Divinka. A shady car, 80 crab, a yet a dish, Kito, came the cut off at Abendon, the Shatsago. A call 80 that any gay Ajahut up, a Ajabades, Soto. Out ended all now, Cap and Nache, I deep pace and try a hill. He cut all was I did quite a catishnition and that. A code and a finny that's not tried or other. A code the quaggy to a kid it was the ayun than Miss Craggy, a she could have been and the clinic. A shahad all the hala shati place, uncle that the nation, oh, at that hardy that a bit hadi car. Are you? No, don't she so sad and I in the shaskin and shata. The Nanige Yahedi Quado, Babadal Sos the Yososi, Hishama Kato, which Danini beat Niche. Ena Dinshla, which Hanet Chato, Jot Ashes and Dilado, Ashadandasi, Kajo, a house and hot up. A quaggy, you said, partners, a little and the Shneen, I guess, oh, Yanishan, hat up, and I didn't never hat up. AIU, Yadan Shendi, who gave on the house, Hanigito, Dojo, Yedanita Behez Anigi. Ako dito dahil nihiki ada mandate station ilo health orders dito hajo ibestahan na sishiniya anda kudo hajo bas kujol na do Dios ada un hita da base call ako akagi kado hashonish nan ID kudo jo halan hi yasulla aje ako di sanat le hostodi bikek ho gaslegi agenda ay seba khatten do I Asahalegi do job and hand that Shako. Nedos but the house all over she cash. Ako yada the nihin de da hoda da period. Nasi do bke no dasi abachaba da hoche. Ako akwagi hoda akwagi haiti kwagi dissemination of information translation de. Ado after ana Washington sabwa hotanda. The Division of Community Development that do kinarnista. The lagi da ishniho. Ako ben di koron khatkada hagi. In hit order go gi yahe gorina atakayo ya kajo. Beschas is do hot ashknel so le to khala yadi hot kinigi hajo hido le hido at khachdini ebed shno. Ako hajo khatnit aro hajo ashknel so le hidi. Ako khagi yad arena bkede yahe. You couldn't sort of job and that say. Edi aja baz anigi detail call. Could even not detail call. Ninigi edo yanda leather. Ako hudo aja the raha yon zarod. The rahana detail call. It all kaslajan and Ako edi bits on shady hunash nihishi that was like in the yab and not detail callagi. He aja jo ye that the halna oyat ako haiti do aban yahu or tasha dole. Ako edi be yage ya haiti kwagi need of office space but kwagi ne what a korot ojo what arch eta na what has on the eti kwagi ojo ha so ge kwagi taban eti kwaba has aro at the bandar ne shigi arjun the house kana so na has ke on the sende ako bindel nish ni de Washington I you khana yos na hiya do it ada ako so I get subit da ni ke khala na sos ni ke ba hoche ni sende mat ani chin di kora babna sos ta yok sosi bna sos ke do hashin sogo hachi hot end di the contract number yo yenige ne ashina ba hoche ne jo khas kishin de ni store di home site lease bna che do Telecom already credit any da ade base of base nige agriculture infrastructure fund the yok cheat Akodo askona sosta halona saido do beda alyagin de chata. Obilada azlina orientation ba da alyata ako that ayu not mishkla. Ako R80 named on machine da awadi mal sospeda al inin de do behodon hidi be shanat lehinde. Jinjo pastation ya edit khada di chao do jo da hadi da shanit leho. Ako that hodan shenda yob de hoye orda.
1 minute.
Oh, so aja hodan sogo ya hadi do ay sigide ya a di kurot ashahin I do di hot ajil nas sne do asko mit hadi yarand ashina de kiribna che aja de hadis a shashna da. Khadna
Oh, okay, Mr. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second.
Motion,
Chairman
Stewart.
Freeland.
Honorable Stewart and Honorable Freeland. Nanda. Any comments or questions?
Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, other colleagues, Mr. Begay, good afternoon. Thank you for your report. I just wanted to re-emphasize the importance of the MOA, MOU, or the tri-party agreement. And once we do have the finalized updates, of course, that will be put forth through a legislation. I really want to get this updated for the land boards, and it's real important that we, continue this process. So, Eddie, I just want to mention that, and again, thank you, Mr. Begay.
Honorable Freeland, Mr. Begay just told us though and hit on the tri-party agreement. It's cooperative agreement again hit on me. So
Cooperative, okay. Cooperative agreement.
Honorable Freeland. Honorable Freeland, is that what it says on the agreement?
A cooperative agreement, yes. It's confusing to say it a lot. So cooperative agreement, yeah. But BLM is interpreted as MOA or MOU as well. So it's different versions of each. So, but thank you.
So Honorable Freeland, so this is really just an agreement between Navajo Nation, BIA, and Bureau of Land Management. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Aro here, Mr. Begay, Ron Hitlahusen, Leggy Dida, as Kehon Hensi do Dida, AIF, what Geheki, do Hajora, the Nova Hensi do Ohano, Gohobelada, so Saint Hidden Dida. Late the night about sea cases throughout the Navajo Nation grazing official, the land board and Lenigi, Banal close to Halonigi, Sto Koroyanda, Nishigi, but so this case of a Nash Koronin and I saw that and had it a Babela as lane. Okabat so this Kazanta, Yat, Yakoro, Nihitato Nil, so a Beshbans, and ye last lane did the Nebanal Close Holoni eligible members Bakau Sabet and Hadit I hot abe hadet a cohort abe last lane a hot end the Kodako Yaha controller but office dangy base a bit odd Nendle chapters done the other land board dog grazing ye and that Nesto late chapters don't no. Hot ended chapters iki up in that and that not so story hande jata hashit out esha ebony na on us hole just a con here han hinanish ilia beshbans anne pleniki the nehegi on near but city case gobinina a hot audition and honorable steward arsenal source bahatalia arabe largely a hot ended there's only the big echo a arja Telecom in that in given nature to add a husband that a base of it what I don't need to Hanad na it and final close to Haloni Asian paper husband even nature even Koro sa atonal socia hande needs a co a arja Asian chapters up that at the Hajo. Not so date it even in a live by the hunt as link or a hot on Chidish as other the hot in the Jigo. Ben his horn a tri-party agreement hit that no Ben his has negative in a hot in each. Did hot ego in no shade on his nenda. John Deck could have a henty or a whole gala. A coani has journal source by hat egg has your nanel ego haila bakadi agreement again. The hot el bakago shades are on that neck of bigger. Harlan Beshba has anacroha jigin. So I bet and I had it. I have a corobe nash for schlen. Other than all source get a job a cargo go egg. I had that baby squashing. A hot eye be behousen go a got it. I had it. So at then had it. I had a leggy hajo a day or late. A coede quihot abba hadesh to the lago obstacles to hindrance behind station and I hot and lay Navajo nationwide go meeting rooms like in that kit and that the information you get that hit out about hunt it don't know nature when either done office space out on it and done staff that needs and equipment that needs and they have budget for land boards the no quite give a car na re set ya teacher peso ya ne jande latin the mail na re NGS bedin nido kayan tamine as but that needs called or schneid or peso ya had nine data honel tanko a co eben in a Navajo nation na job a cargo peso da jogi but osneto ashin ya Juan neto lesente on nachait ada han hat agi be revenue generate edo no han sebashin sabe tan hadit ahit la peshbas anshi la dot set ndes go aron this in the tobi gato le ko lago nin da has station and hot aba hanitsen I sit and got seen the own and the to double land. Christian da Berlin or she that Edo Said Nal Tosh by the Hodloni Belahundens card, but spare the husband Belahundens card the all that Ebony Nan Hikaya Nahatanes Lago. Ado a earthen dams, do windmills, da chonky, the water resources down Han, so we should bananas, eos siniki, Asian sto Han, so good as she, but let's send that later, height Ashin, at the bottom, negotiate a codini church rock, the SSC, lead, the Nova Hinge, the Sahajan Hinan, the Halnosan, the orders that a big at the data, Asian Beshma has under today are in Hania, Nisha, they are creature hot art, the meeting by a cadence, Arjo Hostan, hit at Norda, Benina, a call. Ashin Hada, D. Kodo, DCD, do a nego, a grazing official, but the work session day are 20 arrows that done he didn't need got an in a Hostan hit on nego, other than a hot hana kiss casa. Hot and the Eastern Land Board, GKA, Hakaya, hot habening, to a asata, a stop by do ask what me. So Asian but your whole just all let Mr. Bigay, the whole Sagway had not happened, Nahash, not all let okay, and get now some negation and honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions?
Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland.
Just regarding the whole discussion related to cooperative agreement and tri-party agreement, it was my understanding it is a tri-party / cooperative agreement, and I remember a discussion with BLM. It's for the BIA and the BLM to ensure accountability, their accountability for the management of their own lands, and for them to be good stewards or good neighbors to the Navajo Nation. That was my understanding of how this whole tri-party / cooperative agreement was set up. And that's why I did mention tri-party. I still have the tri-party, but you know, it can be tri-party / cooperative. So just wanted to mention that, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Freeland. So when you have your legislation presented to RDC, and perhaps prior to that, maybe we need to have another meeting with the BLM, Navajo Nation, and BIA, and make that clarification as to what we should title it. So I don't cooperative agreement again. It's just on tri-party, / cooperative agreement. Khaydi na sha khat jogo da che best ai do ta khan at hate ada che best khalit ayam che case la kha jo la best han ni shi be ho do zin sto to make that clarification and honorable Freeland.
Agoshina for that recommendation.
Oh, bigger. Any other comments or questions? Mr.
Chair, this is
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. RDC members, understanding 24th Council members, throughout Navajo Nation, Eastern Land Board, Mr. Begay, and Hitchin, I say the bike as a member of Resources and Development Committee, which is which in the great will say, I don't the shot to floppy kin. We when Shana go in the great grazing official, a vegetation dash and sugar hodo. So without the great and Ecuador, I see it all here and here the dish for all you do for the Navajo people, without the great ranchers, the Linigi grazing permit holders, I don't know, Azo, Asati, and Halo Ikea. Kea, the Esclatson Mill, in the great in the Eastern Agency. I still had Ecuador, I see the net, but not Linigi, I see here Ecuador, but Ecuador moving forward, Ecuador, but first kid, Ecuador, the great Halit, Ed or Ecuador, when I had 2023 budget, 2024 budget, 25, 26 which Khalid Edo Lansoban case earlier chair mentioned NGS are in the Kodon Reiki into mine Peabody coal company that is called and that is na Aronana peso that the boy Zak at 50 close to $50 million in Han they got it out to Halonda. I call hard like peso on the national lesa so that Elban's case Aronana Kodon Redam. I don't know how Navajo government development is working. Khalita Adoleho Lanson the Bantas case Lokado Nagehona Hena Kina Hetana Hego Saho Costco a quarter or Quaggy Day and Halad or quite or Zenin Haland it or a quiet the now Garoid Bigata Leg on Saha case Nation Saha case where you hook on the Hajat Dao Lego and Naja Color. Khalid Anan, how that not is just not on it illegal. A course and see Zini, what I need a deed. A call Hunzata in city case. A cocoa cherry had the Kodo and what and a Khalid Edo Lakodo with our Navajo Nation government. That 3-branch government Kodo Arunda Kodo with the elected officials down at the grassroots level, Kodona chapter officials. And the grazing officials, land board, Khalid Edol, Lanson, the case, Bethos up in el Adoles, Nagay Honahot, Henakina, Hedan Soban, that's case of maybe maybe at our next meeting, maybe Sahota Kodon, maybe next month, Nagay Navajo government development, Kodo and he isn't the hot doors and hasn't so but we about this case go down the radar chair or yeah on uneven mesh go down so idea that Ecuador radar. I know there's a legislation that is moving but the teaching to let go the radar at the nisha to the referendum that is let or let go in a way the council delegates look at 24 and the 48 endorsed nation that shade area or yeah, but not to buy it here. I call it 8 or Bantas case, a Besos Abiza, so that a Bantas case go Kakodo, Aronana Kodo with 110 chapters, with all these chapter officials. Aron that great and official land board, here that Besos Abiza, Alahot Edo Lesla, so the Bantas case go. Kadeo you don't want to see case on the Highland because we have this ARPA funds. I don't know when what any CARES Act funds it has been now or you want to see case on so on first case got a call. As the or at the neck or less either or one sees yes hello see to me or less either I call ARPA funds that's data I call in the way that sto ide ari was say $8 and him base was an big Navajo Nation dollars elahit dan alanet not or the sans on about this case so yes that did so it is about state of Mr. Chair but could not he had in the dollars to Eastern Land Board could as I see could permanent and Lindiki could Land Board I see he had in the dollars. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels, for your statement and encouragement. We do support our land board and grazing officials. They're out in the field working with our people that have livestock. So, Mr. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions?
Chairman.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chairman and committee members, staff, and everyone on the call. Other presenters, though, Mr. Begay. The chairman,
today not so just for clarification or correcting something that was said or mentioned. Otherwise, now the needle just otherwise, the national unit is did to not baha ziko alani what ela join centre. A kutza lato kutahot in to a kutagabana altela join centre. Be the AIF Eliagi. It at a hajon eliand at procedurally at a indicate out a peso the from ebidity to allocate lia at a ben has indicate a quit echo a court or your adult hajon aha. It go it adult saw this because it all not zone had nigi it judo nicta and the based on the zogida adding 80 even has the note what ego hit not had that zito because so a belanta see clean what it echo the court yo pigeon on adani a court the net or you paper kite or what question eight Jota Bansa case. Ado the DCD to ebidity other quadrita DNR do is between this ido is ebenan should they do little eben yeah the DCD or doctor chapter again a gedo you can that should get this such ko quite a quite just not an issue to I guess don't know to none ago don't necessarily to you it bad and do none should they need that what echo condated a key they need a joke or ya just seen to you to what either DCD or either the DNR to go. I could actually it does the torture that's gasoline. I could only hit the benchmarks on the clinical oversight. A natural a best about the case natural what would need other a late bent on the Kyoto Ibka, about a could did penant adolescent when the nan and when the trade out to the neither. A quartet of Bahazan than the epinity to the neither. At about coins and get out. Called adult what it I hit at public date in the show. Put up on net such a me. John never kid it adult to ayat an idea the quigoshin de asulin adult I that is argued a behadazi. Church in that zagishin bed and the reading conal she hotter. Tray in the put our eliagi a pesogi yal sendalgi AIF. The coho ishi bed echo. No, she is the hot edolist. Ba connected or the Christians legi benach. No, she don't ago. Tana did nicht order. A co idea where art is so not on the heart or the jury. And yet our alien did. Though it's not a perfect setup. The distribution is still somewhat concerned. I could end the chapter the is 110. I do not only Bahullo, not initiative Bahullo, Jabazotla. I call Abba has only Jodo, Nidi Abba Honey. Is she locally a quota ye Jiltahan or the Ben has Kutaben has Nifida hasn't yet to say Yaligi a bit neatly laden has the Gijo Jahan Nigo. I could echo Johnny Kutzalto last week. yal shinso hot ego benahat and benani to no nebe kai to wal aha the nel de be kai to wal cha no ne nat an yanda ho kan ho jo hot za se ko to ashin ahono ko ho elia hat to ni khashida jo hat enda ado honne da na ho tin sagi hullo iti ako kat na tina khadova ko with the disease pandemic ado di drought di ni ben kitna hasna edo eda jo shi kwina khashin kana tendo ba ana drought di ota bi khato to ahanon ita chitona haldan ako shin or na ho tin sagi bi ka akut eko peso pechnaha lelchut oyo to at ehit apan hazunda akot and the drought assistance ishinta na to tindikishi to ninte yaligita hatada leli ko to ape yat etole to da kada pa hin singi eko chinanta Hota shido nakaban so keso le kwere ta isno agi tornan ta to kwen kitlasi nagi Mr. Bigay setselende la edit eke totso ni shitche da eko so kot ekita shitche da no ba join ko here ko Chairman when so dole I don't need a response back just making these comments here. Thank you. And Honorable Vice Chair Walker for your statement, as well as Honorable Daniels and Honorable Freeland. Let me give some time back over to Mr. Anthony Bigay to just kind of perhaps do a closing statement. Mr. Bigay?
Kushila. Dia kudo kya hot anat asad no nilido e ba shi hitlido ben na ahazun. Ako dia ne de ya anahun agi khadi khasan shi bebenant adan itlini aye go sa hollo do ne do che hodat yo bi khagi kujina nan e snin nda halna ne khayich khara nan da halna bichinda has yo hodat ako yo di ako di kwagi arabada ho season the sha ya he di kwagi ni hot acheda di ni nige khajor hi do ni di our solutions gi ko pa kat le di do achena hot de ayese ba yede kisle hot di ni shi khota hot ban sete kis hot bin the shil sho ko de be so chude sil aro this ni kine da ni endago arda ni kiro hot ba yede kin ki khota ako khajor le akhit arno sos ba card or ni ko ba ni do chito arno ko hi do ni ako dido kwagi bayat ki ajan da de kidigi khajor mat azos dal sos ba card ya hi do ni ko hot ayat ishnand aro di hot an khaz khanda hos ishnand adi di khashin so quarter report hi email ko di be khalji so kudo George kisindai na do ibin dal bin del nishi aro nat kuda kut or gili kut shinigi bit danitle ko isindon nishi ol ya istisnahanish ko ashya gidi shi so hamza shada so ayro das not aro mishi khada no shoni ge go da tension an ho ye ne dikshata na budget o sahaj wan se ke so na shogash ashya
Mr. Bigay, Eastern Agency, Honorable Freeland and Nela, stepchild Nela, it is in the aunt, Nahalla, Arache Beta, Yeltikon, Neva Hell, Sanan, Kitlasan, Lankito, I did Ashindagision, not Annie that you know, Kan Chichaho. A cardinal Toshelia amendment of Memorandum of Understanding because it was dated on February 8, 1965. among the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Navajo Nation for the grazing administration of the Eastern Navajo Agency Administration Area. It was a memorandum of understanding 1965, February 8, Quasha darkness so given ego ben hitching and not Senegi, don't hitching shibet eshna, RDC not Senegi or a coin his house and the lately by Yashki, hardly get no. A honana gate or less that don't need or base got out ancient by Assasod Leon, Mr. Brigado, Honorable Freeland. BIA do BLM do Navajo Nation Ada what out got that out ancient do not now bigger cooperative agreement or the go. So it hot about this here. Are there any other comments, honorable members of RDC?
Chairman, comment.
Okay, Honorable Stewart, go ahead.
Oh, Chairman, Vice Chair Walker. Auto Quadosh I ke Beno Flinigi lo staff Auto Mr. Bigay for Yati na de Quador presentation hija in lagi do Quadon that our needs go RDC members and Glenigi it doesn't need Punza Hol Joshua Oko and lay then quit Albe baby Heinz na Dasha and September be you na your Katan down Nadol Shada and Linagi, Mr. Murphy, Aaron, Mr. Cheetah, without a gal that let us see Gleon go weapon that a quaggy a the Quadogi a the it's called RDC members and the Glenigi a Hitchin Queen law the presentation Glenigi Shana Chairman, I think I would like to recommend that we continue this dialogue with them. Khaled, and looking back at my notes on that particular day, there were several issues that they had mentioned as well regarding the agreement, regarding present day issues, from their budgets all the way to the relationships, working with the community members and also working with the BIA and the Department of Agriculture. I think that, this is another area again, Shania, that I think we need to look at, as we do with all of our other divisions and programs, departments that we take into consideration their concerns and we help them out the best way that we can, and that we give them guidance as a whole. So maybe in the future, in our next meeting, maybe we can put that on our calendar as well, to continue this dialogue. Whether it's going to be the agreement or whether it's going to be or how, not agreement, but we know it is an agreement, but we need to figure out which wording to use. There are two different types to use, and on issue from way back when it has changed to now, from 1965 to now it has changed. And I know that the last time that this was updated was in 91, and looking back at my notes. So I think that we need to just that last time we met at RDC, we're getting close to that 100-year mark again for grazing permits. So this is gonna fit right in there with it too. On says case Anishana, we're the stepchildren of Navajo Nation government. Right now, we as a 24th Council, we need to start looking at this to get something in place for these grazing permits from BIA to switching to Navajo Nation or wherever it may be. But we need to starting a process now, I think, for the future, because that's just right around the corner again. During the grazing officials meeting in 20 hours. So I think that's something we need to consider too, as well, Shania, Chairman and RDC members. And then last part, the AIF, it is, and I've stated it, it is the first time that we are actually allocating these funds back down to chapter level. Local governance, no, this is what the process is. When you first try something, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to try and try again and to get it right until it is directly related to the chapters. And that's what we're pushing for through these funds being pushed back down to the chapter so that they can distribute to those permittees and livestock owners at the grassroots level who we work with and who we understand, because we as RDC members, we go out to these communities, we see the struggles, we see conditions, the livestock along the road, in the fields, the poor crops that are trying to grow. We take those into consideration. So that's why we're trying to make sure that this funding gets back down to those grassroots level so that they can improve their communities as well. Because right now there's just too much and they need to consider to work on their end too, with the chapters, the community people, to push these funds through and improve their communities. And I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. We do have a BIA on the call with us today, and Mr. Lester Sosi is on the call. And let me just mention that this agreement that I forward to my colleagues was dated January 13, 03. It was signed by then President, the late Kelsey Begay. So there was an amendment to this agreement. So let me just ask for clarification purposes, Mr. Sosi. A memorandum of understanding, tri-party agreements, cooperative agreements. Mr. Sosi? Mr. Sosi? Press *6.
Okay, thank you. I had to do that piece. Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you very much for the invitation. Gladly to be here. It's an honor to appear before the committee here. I'm assuming that there were questions around what the MOU is. Is it a tri-party agreement? So let me answer that directly. There are two instruments that has been used in Eastern Navajo Agency to address land issues. The first one was back in 1949. That was the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, between the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Land Management, addressing grazing administration in the Eastern Agency on mixed land status. So that went through about 3 changes, all the way up to 2003, as you have indicated, Chair. Back in 1965, the Navajo Nation was invited to join on the MOU. From that point forward, it was basically considered also the cooperative agreement. So the MOU and the cooperative agreement can be interchanged and used. The last agreement that was signed, as you said, is back in 2003 by then the late President Begay. The tri-party agreement started on a different track, if you will. In Eastern Agency, there were trespass issues, land tenure issues, including what BLM designated as illegal occupants. These are Navajo families that were identified to live on public domain lands. For addressing those issues, BLM, BIA, and Navajo Nation developed a tri-party agreement for land exchanges. So that's kind of a different instrument being used to address basically land decision and issues, which is different than the grazing administration, sir. I don't know if there's any other question.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Sosi. I believe that what needs to happen is to have a meeting on this subject in the very near future, We have a new year that we just Corona Khan, and therefore, what the concern was brought up. We really need to revisit this. Honorable Stewart, so I share what they let me go back to Honorable Freeland. Since he's from Eastern Agency.
Chairman, thank you. Mr. Sosi, good afternoon. It's good to hear your voice on the call, and thank you for your participation and your concerns and of course, interest in this matter. We were just, of course, trying to discuss cooperative agreement versus tri-party agreement. What's the actual interpretation of that, as well as how are we going to proceed forward? I know we did have a call a month or two ago, and the BLM did refer to this as an MOU, and I'm not too sure if that's still how they're perceiving it or how they're what their understanding of it is. But I just wanted to make sure we get it correct. My interpretation of that call was that BIA and BLM are really using it as an accountability mechanism for the lands that they are, of course, responsible for, but also being good neighbors as well to the nation. So that was my understanding, kind of what I took away from that call. When we had that call with the nation and the BIA and the BLM at that time. So, and of course, a lot of it applies to our land boards and how are we going to, or what jurisdictions do we have? And especially, I'll use example of horse roundups or feral horses. Whose responsibility is it in multiple land jurisdictions? How are we going to deal with that? How are we going to approach that? So those are some of my concerns, Nata. Mr. Sosi, thank you again. But, once we do have the finalized information and input from the land boards, we can proceed forward. But we just need to get the language correct on it. So, Edia, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for that. Just for your information as well, Eastern Agency livestock users, on BLM lands, Navajo Land Department, the grazing fees, grazing trail, in Land Department, Honorable Freeland. Ms. Khan, we do have a question here. We understand that agreements between government sovereigns or departments or states, do they normally, I understand when there's an agreement in place, it's referenced as memorandum of agreements or memorandum of understanding. Would that be the proper terminology for this tri-party agreement, Ms. Khan? What is your recommendation and your legal advisement on this?
Mr. Chair, members of the Resources and Development Committee, this is Mariana Khan, and you do have a very good understanding of the terms that are usually used in these types of agreements, memorandum of understanding and memorandum of agreement. Those terms, of course, are legal terminology, and I do not know, without looking at the history of this particular agreement, to see if to provide more advice on that situation. You did send out a copy of the memorandum of understanding between the parties, and I do not know. Dated 1965. So I was going to say maybe the persons who worked on this from the Department of Justice could be called upon, but this was it's dated 1965, so most likely there's nobody in the Department of Justice who worked on this particular agreement. Mr. Chair, I would like to contact somebody at Department of Justice with regard to this issue, unless there is, of course, somebody online like Ms. Somebody online from the Department of Justice who might have knowledge of this particular agreement. I myself do not. I could do a little bit of communication with the Department of Justice with regard to the term of this particular agreement. But my understanding is that there is a difference between memorandum of agreement and memorandum of understanding with regard to the responsibilities of the parties. And I do not have the answer to your question right now, but I would like to be given the opportunity to speak with Veronica Blackhat and the members of her particular unit at Department of Justice. But like I said, this agreement, from the title of it, was drafted in 1965. And I from what it's being still used, I do not know the history of it and when it would be, if there's a termination date on it. I know very little. I know nothing, in fact, about this particular agreement. If given the opportunity, I could communicate with Veronica Blackhat at Department of Justice and get back to you at our next meeting, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Khan, for your expertise in this matter. Mr. Tahi, what we need to do is we need to schedule a meeting on this topic. We need to include the Department of Justice, Department of Agriculture as well, the Eastern Land Board, perhaps their agency board members, the executive officers, and also RDC, Bureau of Indian Affairs, and Bureau of Reclamation. To my understanding, I sponsored my community here needed a road project done. The nation had the money to pay for it, but there was nobody willing to do the road project for approximately 2 miles. So the nation produced a memorandum of agreement with the San Juan County, New Mexico, and they came out, the roads department, through the approval of the county commissioners, approved a memorandum of agreement to lay down the chip seal road. So that was also between NDOT, the Navajo Nation, the chapters, as well as the county. So, and that's why this question was raised. What would be the better legal terminology to apply to this? Would it be the memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement, tri-party agreement, or cooperative agreement? So we will have to come together and agree and say this is what's proper in this situation between entities. Do you have any other questions, honorable members of RDC?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland?
Chairman, thank you. Another thought that occurred to me was including the state of New Mexico as well. I bring this up because there's been a lot of reports, especially in District 19, of horses being stolen. And, you know, some horses ended up in Amarillo, Texas. And the brand inspectors and the livestock board, you know, they need to be aware of it too and be made aware of this situation as well. So I don't know if we include him in this type of scenario. If we include him in these situations, I don't know. But it was some stealing of horses, high dollar valued horses up in Naize and Herfino, and they end up getting sold to a producer in Amarillo. So I don't know, in those types of situations, do we include the state of New Mexico as well, or these types of situations to expand it? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for bringing up that concern in that area. Perhaps when we do have a leadership meeting, it might take all day to really have a good discussion on it, and we could add that to the agenda for that day for discussion, Honorable Freeland. And if you would, email Mr. Tahi and let him know about that situation and who it would be, so Mr. Tahi could do some research as who would be the contact person for the state of New Mexico, Honorable Freeland.
Okay, that's fine. I can get that information to Mr. Tahi. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So, Mr. Tahi, we will go ahead and schedule this meeting with Eastern Land Board's agency representatives there, plus Bureau of Land Management, as well as BIA. Since BIA is on the call today, they're listening and well aware of our concern today. Thank you. Yeah, any other comments or questions, honorable members of RDC?
Chair, this is Anthony Begay.
Mr. Begay?
Apology on butting in, but be quaggy has joined the Jodish Arkansas. The Nada Ninigi MOU, a Johara Peso show either. Do Peso do Hait Ala Setna, which hit which in Iliada. Ako even Joheda which in Ilia, O da Asaya easy, or MOA or Gilson. A memorandum of agreement. Memorandum of understanding, a dosh katat need a quaggy being business. Lady Nasolado lay. I would end the peso, gay yahido, Hojobaya Tita. A cooperative agreement, APLM. A RJ says, I don't me. A base, a cooperative agreement, a yahido arna. Or that need pink, though 80 foot up in the dealnish. Out of peso, Hashibaya Tita. Age in the less stage in the station or neither. A call a base art, a coto a ajo Bureau of Land Management, Choco cooperative agreement, a you see only with a state, local government, entity, or tribal nation, a ajo you see can die, a ajo by a cooperative agreement. Ko need nation memorandum of understanding out of a kid in the cooperative agreement. They a shit, memorandum of understanding, cooperative agreement. It's a presentation. A co DA, I get this. A co you say, oh, you memorandum of understanding, cooperative agreement. A base addition and I don't study Arkansas. I can't.
Mr. Begay, Koropa, Hein Ziki, D. Koro, it has on in Hada del Naki, Beswas on the Clinici. Today got it in Histago, even in a Koro, Miss Khan, a bit kit. Khalid A. D. Kujiyagon non in Seniki be Niki, Anibe has Anik Echo A. D. Khalid O. All Gato Lake Behodos in Fendiga. A conde not a Nazi go a Kuja got it so you got it so, but has Archer Department of Justice. Eight RG Pesco, he go a dijo. Georgia Hodat Ependan, a coy hate other. So not up in Hickin, none shipping in a Arja got it a higgy. Sudden day, it a hot hattel, a co and he hot arty, needle lady at the don happy ponet zara. Even a Arja liabilities or leo. But that given in a hot ashen a co he could go out at Nasi, Nico air that it he hit on the Department of Justice store, did in the Officer of Legislative Council, then hit yeah, and he get our best hit on his should have thought us. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, again, this is Mariana Khan.
Ms. Khan, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Just like you were saying, it would be good to get an understanding of the particular 1965 agreement that you had sent to us, the Memorandum of Understanding, and some history on it. And in general, a Memorandum of Understanding is a non-binding written agreement between two parties, indicating an intended line of action where the parties agree to act in good faith to comply with the terms, as opposed to a memorandum of agreement and so that would be good to get a historical perspective on this particular agreement. And I would, just as you have suggested, ask the Department of Justice for that background on this particular memorandum of understanding. Mr. Chair, that is my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Khan. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? None. We'll go ahead and vote to accept the report. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Begay, I don't get nothing. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Sosi, for making some clarifications for us from BIA. Okay. We're down to old business. There's none. Number 7, new business. A, approving to schedule an in-person RDC regular meeting for Wednesday. It's usually on a Wednesday, but we need to change the date. It will be at Sahili Wheatfields chapter at 10 o'clock a.m. We would like to have a motion and a second, then we'll set the date. Motion.
Motion, Freeland.
Second, Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart. Second. Mr. Tahi, what date do you have available for us to go to Sahili Wheatfields?
The chair, members of RDC, the next available date would be on Wednesday, February 9th.
Okay.
For 10 a.m.
Okay, we'll just select February 9, but we will probably have an in-person as well as a teleconference number available for colleagues that are unable to travel at times. They have appointments to attend to. Mr. Tahi?
The chair, members of RDC, yes, we'll conduct this meeting as a hybrid as well, but I just want to also make air my concern that with the new variant and the new crowding of hospitals, that we take precaution on this, and that we also work with the chapters. I'll work with the chapters so that way we can limit it and can stay in compliance with the CDC guidelines as well as the Navajo Nation guidelines as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. I believe Honorable Janella Carl Slater's on the call. Janella, we'd like to have some mutton stew and fry bread, so make sure that is well prepared over at Sahili Wheatfields.
10-4, yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for being on the call, Honorable Slater. Appreciate you being on the call. Appreciate your vote on the hardship assistance for our people as well. So God bless you, sir.
Thank you, and we'll see you on the 9th.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, we're on to B, Navajo Nation. Oil and gas, excuse me. Helium workshop, Saturday the 8th in Albuquerque. We would like to have a memo for off-reservation travel, Mr. Tahi, for all members of RDC. Some of us will make it. I'm not able to make it, but I will be traveling to take my daughter back to school that day over the weekend. So we'd like to have a motion and a second. Shanandar.
Chairman, that motion.
Sure, second.
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Mr. Tahi. So this will be for January 8th. Travel will most likely begin on the 7th. Okay,
The chair members of RDC, I have that note written down as well.
okay, there was a memo sent to us as well, so thank you. Any comments or questions, Shanandar? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Agree.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Yeah, we have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. C, San Juan County, Utah meeting, leadership meeting with RDC. And I would like to have a motion and a second.
Freeland.
Second.
Or
Stewart.
second. Honorable Stewart, thank you. Mr. Tahi, give us a date.
The chair members of RDC, the next available date would be on Friday, February 4th, Friday, February 11th, February 14th, February 15th, February 17th, and February 18th.
We're always very busy, and perhaps the 11th would work because we have the chapter planning and regular meetings the first 2 weeks of the month. Mr. Tahi, did you say the 11th?
The chair members of RDC, yes, February 11th is available.
Okay, let's just select February 11th.
11.
And if we need, once we approve it, perhaps we can modify it if we need to, if it doesn't work for my colleagues. Yes, Honorable Freeland?
I just said 11, Abiga. Chairman.
Abiga, 11th, gonna, yeah.
Oh.
Okay. On the 11th, at what time was good? Honorable Daniels?
In the morning, 9?
Okay, where at? Teleconference?
Yes, conference.
Okay, teleconference meeting on February 11th. If you have any other comments or questions? None? Honorable Walker, how do you vote, sir?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland? Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland. None. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. February 11 it is at 9 a.m. D, visit to Washington, D.C. in late January or early February.
Chairman, I'm sorry. I lost connection. Green. Last vote.
You gonna vote green?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On that last subject, C, Honorable Freeland's vote is green. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. D, visit to Washington, D.C. in late January or early February. Honorable Freeland, what day did you have in mind to travel? Start.
Chairman, the 31st and return on the Thursday, the 2nd, I believe.
31st to the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. You want to return on Groundhog Day, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Would like to have a motion and a second. Motion.
Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Return on the 3rd. Return on the 3rd. Gives us 2 full
Okay.
days there.
Return on the 3rd. D motion.
Motion.
Okay. Second.
Chairman, I second.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Okay. Visit with congressional and Senate leaders at Washington, D.C., January 31st to February 3rd. We will be advocating on behalf of Chaco Canyon and Lotties, meet with the Department of Interior, issues also concerning uranium, transportation, roads, and housing, and other issues. Any comments or questions? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels? Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Okay. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green. Green.
Okay, thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Yes, and Mr. Tai, could you send us an updated RDC schedule calendar? We would appreciate that, Mr. Tahi.
The chair members of RDC, yes, I'm currently working on the January agenda and updating it as we speak, and I'll send it over once it's done.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, we're on number 8 of our agenda, close of meeting. Any announcements?
Mr. Chair, this is Daniels.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
I have a question about that, Mr. Chair, or meeting with the certified chapters. Are we going to have a date and time?
Thank you for your question. Very important question. Mr. Tahi, I understand this was already approved by RDC, so could you find another date for us to travel to 20 Arrows for the 40, I believe 45 LGA certified chapters?
Chair members of RDC, yes, I'm looking at the dates and I'm trying to rearrange a couple of the meetings to accommodate having this meeting held either on the 20th, since we have a leadership meeting already with NHA board members and the new CEO on the 21st, that location was also to be held also at Twin Arrows Casino. So I'm hoping that we can do the back-to-back meetings on this issue as well. So I am looking at it, and once I secure this, I will notify RDC of the new date and time, as well as Speaker's Office and Ms. Khan as well.
Mr. Tahi, so back-to-back would be the 20th and the 21st?
The chairwoman of RDC, that would be correct. RDC did approve a leadership meeting with NHA board members and the new CEO. And the meeting was to have this in person, and the recommendation was to have it at Twin Arrows Casino. So I need to work with rescheduling the meeting that's already on the 20th to see if we can move that. So that way this meeting with the LGA certified chapter can go on the 20th. So we'll have a meeting on the 20th and the 21st at Twin Arrows and Casino.
Mr. Tahi, on my calendar, I have the 20th leadership meeting with DJR Energy on hydraulic fracking and tour, Aztec, New Mexico.
That chair, that is correct. I am talking with DJR Energy to see if we can move that meeting up, and that meeting is based on the availability of their drilling rig that would be available for the meeting. So I'm waiting to hear a response back as well.
Okay, I think it would be a good recommendation from your part, Mr. Tahi, to have the LGA certified chapters meeting at Twin Arrows on the 20th and then NHA on the 21st. So if you could encourage DJR to move it perhaps to the 31st or the beginning of February would work as well. Since we already approved it, just ask for a modification on that, sir.
Chairman?
Honorable Freeland?
Chairman, I forgot to mention something. February 4th is Indian Day in Santa Fe, too.
Are we allowed to go over there?
Yeah, they're going to have it this year. So just FYI, maybe we could go as RDC. I forgot to mention that. We'll be flying back on the 3rd.
Okay. Mr. Tai, could you keep that in mind? Perhaps if some of us would like to go to Indian Day in Santa Fe, we could do that. Perhaps add it to the agenda for approval at our next RDC meeting, Mr. Tahi.
Term members of RDC, I have that noted right now.
Okay, thank you. So if you would, Mr. Tahi, just work with DJR and find another date.
The term members of RDC, okay.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Daniels, does that answer your question there? Diga ya. Any other announcements? I hear none. Motion to adjourn.
Daniel.
Honorable
Freeland,
Daniels.
Freeland,
Honorable Freeland. Thank you. Before we vote on this, and I just want to say thank you very much, Team RDC, as well as staff, Mr. Tahi, Ms. Woody, Ms. Khan, and Ms. Yako. We appreciate all the work that you do for us, and God bless each and every one of you, colleagues as well. I believe we do have a new beginning this year. We will continue to work hard for our people to improve the Navajo Nation, the great Navajo Nation, and be a part of that planning process, starting from the Hogan level to the highest level of government. We all need each other. We need to work together with other entities, programs, departments, Bureau of Indian Affairs, the states, the 4 states, So, Diego Datisnan Ado Hihan Sago. Want to say that right now. And God bless each and every one of you and your families as well. So, with that said, we'll go ahead and vote on the adjournment. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green as well with his text message. Honorable Daniels. Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. We are adjourned officially at 2:05 p.m. Thank you and be safe out there. Go on that.